Hello. Welcome to our April webinar. Appreciate you guys joining today. We're going to go over the changes that we've made to our PACE comparison report today. So people are still coming in, so we'll give them just a few minutes to join. During the presentation, at any time, if you have any questions, please feel free to go to the Q&A section here, enter your question. I will handle the questions at the end of the webinar. So if you don't get an answer right away, just please be patient and we will get to them at the end of the webinar. So again, thank you for joining. I appreciate taking the time out of your day to be with me today. I'm going to turn my camera off while I present because my internet doesn't like me to do both. So I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so I hope everyone can see my screen. So today we're going to look at the changes we made to the PACE comparison report, which used to be called the PACE report. We've added the PACE comparison report for short-term and seasonal. And the purpose of these reports is to provide our clients with a benchmark of where your company stands on a given day. The report will show how your business is doing this year compared to a previous year. And what that'll help you do is you find reservations are lower for a certain month if you're comparing your year to date for, let's say, April 4th of this year compared to last year, and you're seeing that the summer season's a little bit lower this year than last year. It'll give you the opportunity to maybe look into doing some more advertising where you might want to put your marketing money to try to increase those bookings, or discounting, whatever it might be, to try to get people in booked for those time frames. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the PACE comparison report is found under accounting reports. And we're going to first look at the one for short term. And what we're looking at here is we're looking at the year to date. And what the year to date looks at is the month and the day entered in this field is the day that we're looking at. So we're going to look as of April 4th, 2023, and we want to compare 2023 to 2022. Now you can change that if, during COVID years back then, if you didn't want to compare 2022 to 2023, you wanted to look at 2021, you can choose that in that compare previous year. Okay, and what that's going to do, just like it will for us here, it's going to look as of 4/4/2023 and then compare for the previous year of 4/4/2022 or 2021, whichever you pick. This is the report. So again, based on the criteria that I had in the previous screen, I pulled this for 4/4/2023, and I want to compare it to the year 2022. So what this is looking at here is section 1. The areas displaying any reservations booked on or before, booked before 4/4/2022 for each month. And then the section 2 is looking at any reservations that were booked on 4/4/2023, or before 4/4/2023 with stay dates in 2023. So this in the third section is comparing. So what that's doing is it's comparing the section 1, and it's comparing it to section 2. Okay, so for an example, if we look at July, so July of 2022, and this is a test database. Of course, yours will look quite different than our made-up database with not many reservations. But in year 2022, for July, we didn't have any bookings. And then we compare that to 2023 in July for short-term reservations. We have rent of $4,850, total number of nights in that month is 7, and total number of reservations is 1. Then section 3 is comparing. Again, it's taking section 2 compared to section 1. So we're up in rent by 100%, as well as up in the number of nights and up in the number of reservations. Okay. So it'll do this for you per month. And then down across the bottom, it gives you the totals. So for the year, again, bookings that were made before 4/4 of 2022 with stay dates in 2022, this is our total rent, total number of nights, and total number of reservations. And then we have over here for 2023, the same thing, total rent, nights, and total reservations, and then our difference. So looking at this, we're up in rent $10,100 from this year compared to 2022. So we're up 79% in rent. We're up 49% in the number of nights booked and 60% in the number of reservations booked. Okay, so that's what this report is looking at. For short term, for the report for short terms, if you have a reservation that's crossing months, so I have a reservation that checks in May and checks out in June, the rent is going to be included in the month the reservation checks out. Okay. And then we're going to kind of break it down a little bit more here on the next slide. So what I like to do is I want to see where my numbers are coming from. So what I've pulled, this is our custom report. Both of these, I pulled it for different years. Criteria 1 here for our custom reservation report. I chose the columns I wanted to display, and I pulled it based on checkout date. And I wanted to see reservations that check out in January of 2022. And then I pulled this one to see reservations checking out January 2023. So that's what I'm using to make sure that my numbers up above are correct. I wanted to verify that, to make sure it's calculating what I think it should be. So you can see for January 2022, we have a reservation. It was booked prior to 4/4 of 2023, stay dates in 2022. That's where our gross rent is coming from. All right. And then in 2023, so again, booked any time before 4/4 of 2023, which this you'll see was booked in 2022, but the stay dates are in January 2023, so it's included in that month. So that means that your reservations booked the prior year for the next year are going to be accounted for in the year the reservation stay dates are. Okay, that's one of the big differences on the new updated report. Our old PACE report would only include reservations booked in 2023, but with the help of a client who wanted to see just overall, where am I this year to last year? That's where these changes, updates, which I think for the better, have come from. So you'll see that's our rent amount. Again, over here, it's going to break it down per month, how you're doing. So for January, we're up 2% in rent, and we stay the same in the number of nights and number of reservations. So I just, for short term, because we have more, I just want to look at another month as well. So kind of the same thing that we just looked at here. I pulled again my custom reservation reports, and I wanted to see what reservations booked prior to 4/4 of 2022 with stay dates in 2022. That's my total rent, which matches my total rent here. And then the same for 2023. Okay, so my June reservation here, and then it shows I'm down so far for June. I'm down 53% for rent and 50% for both number of nights rented and the number of reservations. The one thing to keep in mind for short terms, the gross rent is the rent amount after a discount if one is applied to the reservation, and it does include add to rent adjustments. Okay, so that's how our gross rent is being calculated. And now we're going to look at the seasonal PACE comparison report. So located in the same place under accounting reports, and it's the PACE comparison seasonals report. So I'm looking at the same time frame. I'm looking at as of 4/4/2023, I want to see what reservations I have on the books compared to the same month and date of the prior year that I selected in the drop down here, 2022. So the report looks exactly the same for the most part. But this report is going to show gross rent, nights rented for reservations booked through the month and the day entered in the year-to-date field for the year entered in the year-to-date field and the year entered in the compare previous year field. So that's what I chose, 2022 compared to 2023 as of April 4th of each year. Okay, so those 2 years can be compared using the same month and date as a cutoff point. So when we're looking at the gross rent here, so same thing, column 1 or section 1 is your seasonal reservations booked prior to 4/4 of 2022 for stay dates in 2022. Section 2 is looking at the same 4/4 2023 booked prior to that date for stay dates in 2023. Okay, the gross rent on this report is broken down by the amount of the receivables due on each month of the reservation. And we'll go into that in the next slide a little bit more. But to kind of just do a little review here and look at section 3, if we look at January, last year, I had no seasonal reservations in the month of January. This year, I do have reservations totaling gross rent of $1241.94 and 11 nights total in the month of January. So that is looking at the gross rent, and then it shows us what we're up for that month. And then again, just like the short term, we have down here the totals. So my total rent and number of nights for 2022 versus 2023. And then you can see overall for seasonals, I'm 3% down for this year compared to last year in both the percentage of rent and the percentage of nights booked. Okay. So breaking it down a little bit more, for this comparison, I pulled our custom reports projected commission reports. And the reason for that is that report has the option to look at for seasonals and long-terms receivable due date. And that's what I want to look at for our seasonals. So I'm not interested in the commission at this time. I want to look at my rent and I want to see receivables due in September of 2022, October 2022, and compare it to make sure my numbers match. So you'll see we have one reservation for 2022, reservation 53. The stay dates are August 1st to October 28th. So the way that it breaks down for a seasonal reservation is each receivable is reported in the month that that receivable is due. So that's our August rent for that reservation, our September rent, our October rent. So you can see those numbers match what we have on our projected commission report that I pulled to see my seasonal reservation rent amounts. And then it's the same thing for 2023. I have one reservation booked, reservation 55. And it's for the same August through October 14th for 2023. And it breaks it down, August rent, September rent, and then the October partial rent. So that breaks it down and shows me I broke even for these two, for August and September. For October, I'm down 52% for my seasonals with the gross rent and the number of nights. So that is our new PACE comparison reports. We do have a request already for this for long-term, and that is in the works with tech support. Jonathan's aware, and we don't have a release date for that one at this time, but we are working on it. That one will work just like our seasonals that we have in front of us. It'll go by the receivable due date. Okay, it looks like we have a question from Leslie. When I run the seasonal reservations report, I get all zeros and errors. Leslie, I'll take a look at that and I'll get back to you directly. So if that happens, if anyone has trouble when running the report and you do have errors, reach out to us on the help desk at help@vrmgr.com, and we'll happily take a look at that for you one at a time to see what's going on. So I'll take a look at that for you, Leslie, right after this meeting and get back to you. Does anyone have any other questions? No? Okay, well, I really appreciate your time today. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Keep an eye out for next month's webinar. I don't know what the topic is yet, but we will be back with VRM Insider for May. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.